the market wants neurologically focused care. And obviously as chiropractors, that is and always has been our bread and butter, right? So now is it a case of, are we going to take advantage of this and actually use it? Or are we going to miss the opportunity? Is that right?
Yes, and I think that there's conversations happening outside of our profession about nervous system regulation and understanding the brain better. Like that's entering into the average person's conversation and algorithm. So maybe they haven't paralleled that to how chiropractic serves that purpose, but it's happening.
Hello, and welcome to Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. This podcast is dedicated to chiropractors who are in the seasons of launching and building their practice. Join myself, Dr. Lona, and my co-host, Dr. Bobby, as we have conversations each week as it relates to building the practice of your dreams. And remember, you can have a remarkable practice as part of a remarkable life, not instead of one. We're here to lead you on the way.
What's up, team? Welcome back to the Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast with the fantastic Dr. Lona Cook and myself, Dr. Bobby Lujasevic. And today, Lona, we're going to have an exciting conversation because this comes back hot on the heels of a cool and exciting event that you had on the weekend, which is a very unique event where there was a bunch of awesome leaders in chiropractic in a room together talking about, well, how do we progress chiropractic forward and what collectively are we seeing is going on across the globe, quite frankly, when it comes to inside of offices, what kind of communication is the market wanting? And I know that there's some really valuable insights that you gained from the weekend. And of course, we want to be able to get behind the scenes and see how we can translate this for our offices. So why don't we start up by telling us what happened on the weekend? So you were involved in a pretty awesome group, and I think that a lot of people can benefit by, taking the learnings from this group and applying them inside of their practice.
Yeah, it was a unique experience, Bobby. I can't say that I've ever been in a room like it. Dr. Julia Marsh had invited a bunch of us to come down and give input onto the business curriculum moving forward for Life University, creating kind of an advisory board, looking at opportunities coming our way in chiropractic and chiropractic business and expansion in serving more people. And so in that room was, franchise owners, business consultants, coaches, people who'd been in practice decades, as well as people who have been marching chiropractic out in a big way for a long time, as well as some people that are newer in practice and straight away growth right from the get-go. So it was a really interesting time to just dialogue with each other, because that room, we probably haven't all sat in a room. Many of us had never really met each other before, and a lot of us knew of each other, but maybe didn't sit in the same rooms very often. So to have a dialogue where we were coming together also for the common good of chiropractic expansion and to help the students be prepared for a marketplace that is very much ready for what we have to deliver. I think what I was most excited about is how so many of us had the same insight that the public is really ready for this philosophically congruent nervous system focused version of chiropractic. Now, we know chiropractic is about the nervous system, but the public's having a conversation about the nervous system with or without their connection to chiropractic there. And so we just kept coming back to this idea that there is a great opportunity right now to go out and bring chiropractic to more and more people in your community and expand your business and expand your team if we kind of seize where the marketplace is at.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So what you're saying is there's this unique group that through that group, there's access and visibility into, I will go ahead and say, thousands of chiropractic offices. And what the group, and groups like that are often misaligned in a lot of areas. They don't agree on a lot of things. But what I'm hearing you say is that one thing that absolutely there was uniform agreement around was the fact that, guess what? There is this trend that we are all seeing in practice, that there is a shift in the market wanting more neurologically focused communication. There is a attraction right now to neurologically focused, I'm going to call it healthcare entity. They don't necessarily identify it as a chiropractor yet, but the market wants neurologically focused care. And obviously as chiropractors, that is and always has been our bread and butter, right? And so now is it a case of, are we going to take advantage of this and actually use it? Or are we going to miss the opportunity? Is that right?
Yes. And I think that there's conversations happening outside of our profession about nervous system regulation and understanding the brain better. That's entering into the average person's conversation and algorithm. So maybe they haven't paralleled that to how chiropractic serves that purpose, but it's happening, right?
Yeah. And here's the thing. I once heard this saying, I'm not sure where I heard it, but the saying was that in life, the truth always has a way of coming out, right? So the truth always wants to come out. Now, we have known since the beginning of chiropractic that chiropractic, the reason why it's so powerful is because of the regulating effects that it has on the central nervous system, right? Sure, of course, when joints that are subluxated, dysfunctional, working properly, when they're adjusted, you start to get improvements in range of motion, mobility, symptoms, pain. But the reality is that it's the impact on the nervous system that makes us unique, because we have been for decades, dare I say it, centuries now, probably the only profession that's recognized that connection. We know that it's a truth. And why do we know that it's a truth? Because it's based on universal laws and principles. So, has to be true, right? However, the truth has a way of being hidden in some things. But sooner or later, it always finds its way out. And what I heard this person say, and I can't remember who it was, so I can't give them credit, but the question that we should ask ourselves is, will it find its way out through us? Okay? Because I want to give you another example of this, Lona. The word wellness, okay? When I first graduated about 12 years ago, wellness was a chiropractic term that was coined through chiropractic. And it also, quite frankly, when I used to say it, I don't know if you remember these days early in practice, when I used to talk about wellness or wellness care, it was kind of like, wellness, what's that? Whereas now, wellness is this globally understood entity that is a massive, massive growing and emerging industry. And I would go ahead and say that if you survey the public and you ask them about the word wellness, they would say they've heard about it. They probably even have an idea about what it's about. They wouldn't associate it with chiropractic. So I feel as though that we missed the opportunity there a little bit to embrace that, even though it's a chiropractic term. What are your thoughts on that?
That's an interesting one. I have like a love-hate with that word, only because maybe this is in the States, but I imagine it's everywhere. Like wellness got misused as like, I'm going in for my flu shot, and that is wellness as well, right? So it was almost like some of the medical mode took what we would consider not wellness. It's still reactivity or pharmaceutically driven outside in, and have like stamped it as wellness, which we could argue it's not, which is, I think, confusing to the marketplace. I would agree that we are on a tidal wave of people becoming actually very much interested in whether they call it wellness, well-being, proactivity. I don't think they hear the word salutogenesis yet, but that we're moving into a version of healthcare that is focused on salutogenesis instead of just reactivity.
Yeah, it's interesting you should say that, because I actually don't associate the word wellness with flu shots. You know what I associate it with? Ice baths, cold plunges, infrared saunas, red light therapies, all these things which are great. A lot of them I engage in myself. But there's been this massive, massive emergence in the last 3 years, especially, of wellness centers. And if you go into these centers, they're exactly those things. Ice baths, saunas, infrared, traditional sauna, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not sure. Is that the same in your part of the globe?
Yeah, I would say so. I think that one thing that got coined here was like child checks were also just basically vaccine checkups. And so that's why I'm saying like the word got a little wonky.
Yeah. But see, it's interesting because despite which industries kind of like trying to embrace it now, the reality is that they recognize the market wants that. The market wants, this proactive approach to like being well and being healthy. And so they're using that as marketing spin. But my original point remains that the general public would not look at the word wellness and associate it with chiropractic. They would look at it either with the well child, or you're talking about now, or the wellness hubs with the ice bars I'm talking about. And so I feel as though we've kind of like missed this opportunity. It's interesting when you say there's been this neurological focus shift in the market, and you've got 20 people that are prominent in chiropractic that all uniformly agree around that. So the natural question now that I ask myself is, well, how do we take advantage of that? So how is it now moving forward in the next 12 months, particularly for the next, let's say, 3 to 5 years? How do we embrace this change in the market, and how do we then adopt it, and what changes do we make inside of our practice? So I don't know if you guys got to that. I'd love to hear what some of the thoughts were that came out of the weekend of that. Is there like, okay, yeah, we all agree this is going on. So as a result of that, here are like things that we should double down on. These 3 things for me stuck out, and then definitely, we can add our own there as well of our thoughts.
Yeah, I think one of the things was just like doubling down on being convicted around our philosophy, because our philosophy is centered in that knowledge that this is a like neurospinal system intimately intertwined, and that we're having an influence on the brain and the nervous system, and that us knowing that that is the special sauce of chiropractic and doubling down on that as our unique element, and that being enough for our business model also, right? That the simplicity of it is a beautiful business model. And that was one of the key things that came out of it. And I think everybody was feeling very excited about the opportunity that the marketplace is giving us. Now, that also requires all of us that have business acumen to keep growing it and to want to employ more chiropractors to come into that model, because the marketplace wants, I'm going to say, subluxation focused, innate centered chiropractic, whereas we can argue in that there's mechanistic schools and are they promoting what we're promoting? Well, you know what, if the marketplace wants it, then we should be sending more kids to those schools and creating the supply and the demand ratio there. So that was the conversation.
Yeah, 100%. So one of the things that came out of it, and I agree with that, is we need to double down on philosophy. So if let's put together 3 action steps that a chiropractor listening to this could go, great, I agree with this. It's awesome that all the leaders are saying it. We're seeing it across the globe. Give me now some tangible things. So number 1, what I'm hearing you say is double down your philosophy. That might mean go back, reread some of the old books. Maybe they've been gathering dust for a while. Go back and listen to some podcasts. Go back and re-dip yourself in philosophy. I know when I first graduated, I learned the way that I did this is I went and bought so many books. I went and bought the green books. I went and bought, Joe Strauss's blue books. I went and had a look at Essentials of Chiropractic Philosophy by Virgil Strang. All these things helped me so much. And also going back on YouTube and finding some of those grainy old videos of a lot of the chiropractors that came before us that will talk about chiropractic philosophy. So when I hear double down on philosophy, that's one of the action steps that I would take on the back of that. Action step number 2. Do you have a second one? Is there a second one that you can think of now that's going to allow us to take advantage of? I've got one.
Let's hear yours, Bobby.
All right. Mine is this. I think it's one thing to know. I think it's another thing to be able to know how to communicate. All right. You can know something. And I know I had this challenge in my early years of practice. I felt as though I discovered something that was really cool and really exciting, but I didn't really know the science of communicating that and getting across to people so that they could mirror and match my excitement. Then the more that I learned about communication nuances, how humans communicate, understand the difference between verbal, nonverbal communication, understand the difference between tone, body language, facial expressions, volume, cadence when speaking, the more powerful my message got. So I would say the second step is have a conscious awareness around how you communicate, Have a conscious awareness around your nonverbal communication cues, because they are vital. And then learning how to slow down when you emphasize points, or how to say certain things louder, right? Or how to shape your eyes when you say certain things. Because I can say the same sentence multiple times and it's going to have a different meaning. In fact, I read this in the book. I hope I don't butcher this, but the sentence says this. The sentence says, it says, I didn't say he hit his wife. I didn't say he hit his wife. The word that you emphasize has an impact in how that sentence is perceived. I didn't say that he hit his wife. So I'm saying that he hit his wife. I didn't say it. I didn't say he hit his wife. No, he didn't hit her. I didn't say he hit his wife. That means he hit her, but I didn't say it. I implied it. I didn't say he hit his wife. That implies somebody else hit his wife. Right? See what I get? Yes. What I'm getting at? I didn't say his wife. He didn't his wife hit somebody else. Right? The word that you emphasize actually has a complete different meaning on that sentence. Yes. Right? So you've got to look at that and you've got to understand that communication is key, and understanding how to communicate, how to emphasize, how to take the science of influence is going to really help you take that message of neurologically focused chiropractic out to the market and actually make an impact with it. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I love that. That's great. I had a different sentence that was taught me. It was, let's eat grandpa. Let's eat grandpa. Let's eat grandpa. Right? This, again, that idea of, and what your face does when you say the things, right? So, Bobby, for some of you listening, you've taken a lot of time to perform your craft of chiropractic, to be excellent in your technique and excellent in identifying where subluxation is and correcting it. Now take that amount of effort and energy and work on, how do I explain verbally, non-verbally, the beauty of chiropractic so that I'm just oozing it, right? And for those of you that are listening to this, that maybe you don't have that clinical certainty yet in your hands, that's part of delivering the philosophy as well, is to get to that place where you, whether you're the owner, you're the associate, you're training your associates to have that certainty in their hand, so that they can do those two things. They can deliver the goods of chiropractic and they can communicate it. I think that's a big element of us stepping into demand in the marketplace for neurologically focused chiropractic, is that we are going to keep it simple, and it is about the adjustment.
Yep, for sure. I agree. 3 action steps, guys, you can take. Number 1, double down your philosophy. Okay. Go back to the founding principles. I think that's key. Number 2 is, you know what? Learn how to get more masterful with your communication, because you can know something, but if you don't know how to communicate it, you're not going to influence anyone on it. And there's nuances, as you can see in those examples, when it comes to communication. And number 3, I've got a third one here that I want to jump in on. It's one thing to know, it's one thing to know how to communicate it, but then, like anything, you've got to install it into a system. And so number 3 for me is start installing it inside of your systems. Start with day 1 and day 2, right? Because day 1 and day 2 really sets the frame for the relationship, how it's going to unfold. Put it in your marketing. If you know that there's a desire from a market point of view, put it in your marketing on the front end, okay? But definitely through day 1 through day 2. I feel as though that's the moment straight away where something goes either down the mechanical route or the neurological route. Because if day 1 you sit there and you just ask a whole bunch of mechanical questions, where does it hurt? How long? Which direction is it worse when you turn in? Have you had it before? How would you describe the pain? They're all very mechanical questions, right? Whereas you can ask neurological implied questions, okay, that start to unpack deeper. So you can in day 1 straight away start to filter that through. You can, in your day 1, when you do your pre-consult, pay a bit more attention to when you pick up that spine and you start explaining Chiro 101, all right? You can explain it as a set of bones sitting on top of each other, protecting the spinal cord inside, or you can explain it as the reason why the bones are so critical is because your central nervous system is inside, and your nervous system is regulating stress every single day, physical, chemical, and emotional. And so what happens is as your body goes through stress, your spine can start to respond to that. And it does that by developing what we call subluxations. Subluxations in turn put more stress on the nervous system. So you can start to already have a more neurologically focused conversation on day 1. On day 2, when you explain your general report that we talk about, we always start off by talking about the autonomic nervous system and how the reason why what we're about to show you on X-ray is so key is because what's inside that spine, that's your nervous system. What are your thoughts on that, Lona, as well? Is there tips or is there things that you guys do on day 1 or day 2 or any system that helps take the conversation more neurologically focused?
I love what you said there. And I think when you said system right away, I also thought yes, because as we're going to serve a population that is more ready for this, the systems need to be able to scale so that we can serve more people, because there's only 100,000 of us in the world. So that's going to require us to get better at our systems so we can employ more chiropractors and grow this profession to serve a population that wants what we have. They just don't know it's called chiropractic. So yes to day 1 and day 2, but the whole way through, right? The more that you're clear about what the way that you're going to articulate and flow your system to do the patient journey, then you can scale that, which is so much of what Bobby and I talk about each week.
Yep. Spot on. So summary from today, guys, as you can see, you get it from behind the lines, you get intel, and that is, there is this big shift. You can see all these leaders are talking about it. Remember, sometimes these guys don't agree on a lot of things. One thing that everyone's agreeing upon is that there is a shift in the market and there's this growing desire towards neurologically focused care. It's being seen far and wide. So how do you take advantage of it? Well, there's 3 tips for you right now. Double down your philosophy, go back, dust off those old books, reread them, get re-dipped into, hey, the tenets of what actually chiropractic is based on. Number 2, brush up on your communication, okay? Because you can know one thing, but if you don't know how to communicate it, you're not going to influence many people at all. Get training, get coaching, okay? Invest in yourself, your number 1 investment. And then number 2, install that into systems inside your office. Day 1, day 2, table talk, progress exams. There is a whole battery of different systems that you should be understanding, you should be mastering. And if you don't know what they are, if you need to take them to the next level, guys, reach out. That's why we're here. We can definitely help you with that. So on that, any final words, Lona?
No, it's just exciting. I'm really excited for the time we're in.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree 100%. Fantastic time. Remember, guys, the truth always has a way of coming out. The question you just have to ask yourself is, will it come out through you or will it come out through us? I say yes, but we got some work to do. So let's get to it. I hope you found today useful. Guys, if you found it useful, follow us on our socials. That's the best way. Reach out to us on our socials. I'm Bobby Ilajasovic at Instagram, and we got Dr. Lona Cook at Instagram as well. Until next time, have a rocking day. Lona, it's a pleasure as always.
See you, Bobby.
Catch you guys.
Hey everyone, please listen in for this next bonus interview of one of our remarkable success partners. They all help us help more people find the benefits of chiropractic. So listen on.
Hey everyone, this is Coach Day with the Remarkable Practice, and I have with me today Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons. It is quite an honor to be able to interview him over the next few minutes. He has a fantastic service that I am a direct recipient of, and I'm sure that you would, much rather hear it from him as far as the benefits of it rather than, me sitting here raving about it. So I want to go ahead and introduce Dr. Josiah Fitzsimmons, fantastic chiropractor, fantastic person and business person, and give him an opportunity to speak about Lucro and what kind of services he provides. So, Dr. Josiah, tell us just a few moments about yourself, as well as, what problem does Lucro really stand to solve for the busy chiropractor?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Dr. Kevin. Lucro provides bookkeeping services for the chiropractic profession to help chiropractors scale their clinics and be more profitable. That's literally what Lucro stands for in Italian, is profit. And it was born out of my own clinic. I grew my own clinic very quickly right out of school, over $1 million my first year in practice, $2 million my second year. By my fourth year, I was at $5.5 million in 1,800 square feet. And so doctors started asking, what are you doing? Can you help me? Can you be my coach? Can you do all these different things? And they're like, what is really separating you? What are you doing differently than most other offices to grow and scale at such a fast pace? And really what I realized is I had borrowed from other professions outside of chiropractic, most for myself, my first couple of years. And most chiropractors really only utilize bookkeeping for 1 day a year to file taxes. But during COVID, I started studying these other businesses. What are they doing to grow and scale? And especially these tech businesses that they seemingly can just burst through glass ceilings and never hit plateaus or bottlenecks. And one of the most fundamental things that I understood about these businesses was they were constantly evaluating their financial data to make strategic key business decisions. And, my bookkeeping was typically months behind. Even if I got it on time, I didn't know what I was looking at. I didn't know what the right margins were, what the right percentages were, what I actually should do with the data. And so that's when I started transitioning and trying to figure it out for my own clinic. And so now that's what we do for doctors, is you have a dedicated team member that does your books every single week. And then we give you a report by the 10th of every month that gives you insights into all your numbers, as well as recommended action steps of how to grow, how to scale, get to the next level. And I lead twice a month group calls where you can ask unlimited questions as well.
And I think that's fantastic. I was literally just looking at my dashboard right before we hopped on this call, and it was like, hey, it's in the green, it's profitable. That's fantastic. And so some of the ways that I use it, and, I was trying to think of, this podcast reaches everyone from those that are just about to get started in their practice, to those that are building their practice, to those that are leveraging, their team and other associate chiropractors to scale their practice. And, I look at Lucro as a way to provide a product and a benefit to everyone across the board. For those that may not have great fluency with their funds, that advice and those tips and those strategies on where to spend and what not to spend, that's fantastic. And for, the busy chiropractor, the busy CEO that just wants to pop in and say, like, okay, are we above? Are we below? Are we right on track with where we need to be? And I think that's a really important thing when we talk about our finances as well. When we talk about marketing budget, we should be remarkable standards right around that 10%. And if you're above that, you need to know that, but also you need to know if you're below that. And it's not necessarily a good thing when you're beneath that. It just means you need to increase your spending to add more value to your business. So that quick visibility, just pop in and it's like, okay, yeah, I can actually increase my spending within marketing to get right back on budget. That's huge value. So that's terrific. And, as you had mentioned, you continue to grow through COVID, and, having your numbers like that is a really important thing. So
You hit the nail on the head. Is you might be doing good in these areas. A lot of people focus on maybe what they're not doing good at and they want to improve. But what I found and what we've really found with Lucro is most of our clients need to focus more on the opportunities that they have to grow. And instead of focusing, on shaving a few here or doing a few things, stop doing a few things. There's a lot of things that you're probably really doing a great job at. They just need to do more of, and uncovering those opportunities and pouring more gas on those fires is really what we found for most clinics to really scale their clinics at a much faster pace.
give us an example of what those master classes that you talk about would be covering for, for those people that are listening that have no idea what you're talking about when you say a master class. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, absolutely. We cover really everything, in my own clinic, how I grew my clinic to now just under $7 million in last year. We cover all different things. We have guests on, such as Dr. Franson and Dr. Pete from the Remarkable Practice. We have guests from other marketing companies, Alan Miner from Chiro Matchmakers. We have guests from all different people across the entire profession. We have also diving in. My partner was a CFO for Jasper AI, which is now a $1 billion company. We break down marketing, we break down operations, we break down financial decisions, we break down how to eliminate your tax bill. We break down profitability, social media strategies, all different areas that all flow back into how to have a successful practice. And so all those different things show up on your P&L in different ways. And so how do you understand the data that your P&L is giving you, then to look deeper into improving your team or improving your retention or improving your conversion, or depending on what phase you're in, like you said, whether you're just right out of school launching, this is hugely important for you to know exactly how to make the best decision. The biggest thing I talk about people right out of school or early in practice is opportunity costs. You might focus on what you think is the most important topic, but there could be something that could be 10 times more valuable that you didn't even know you should focus on. When you're into build and scale mode, then it's very, very important for you to be able to focus on, the key aspect that's going to have the number one driver on scaling your clinic and utilizing data to help you understand what that decision is. And so, yeah, in the master classes, we dive into all those different topics, on a more detailed basis. And it's a great collaboration with all of our members, going into Q&A, and we have lots of great questions, that people bring up, that they're struggling with, or they're pushing through and trying to break through those plateaus or bottlenecks.
That's fantastic. And that is at no additional charge. Is that correct with the master
Correct.
plan?
Yeah.
That's included. So that just shows where Dr. Josiah's intentions are and his heart is to help serve the profession. And that's true. And, our metrics are so vital when we're a CEO. I'll openly admit when I first started in practice, I was a head down, bum up guy. And it's like, I don't need my numbers. I'm going to show up and adjust. That's what I'm here to do. But I tell you what, if you truly want to have a better grasp on your practice, on your business, and if you truly want to be able to scale your practice, you have to be able to understand and comprehend your numbers. So with that being stated, let's get real on this. Like, what is a good return on investment that CEOs can expect when they use Lucro?
Yeah, absolutely. When you put your money in the stock market, you set it, forget about it. You're usually happy with 10%, return. You put $1,000 in, it turns into, $1,100 at the end of a year. You're pretty happy. And so one of the biggest things I talk with doctors about all the time is that if you put $1,000 into marketing and you only made $1,100, you wouldn't be happy at all. And that's because your business has much greater opportunity to get way higher ROI on investing back into your business. And so whether it be hiring a team member, hiring their Remarkable Practice, hiring a Lucro, you're going to want much, much higher ROI for your investment than just putting in the stock market and forgetting about it. I would say the absolute worst case scenario of investing your money into Lucro is a 10x return. 10 times the amount would be the worst case scenario. Most of our doctors are getting 20, 30, 40, some of them 100x ROI in investing in Lucro. We're only $450 a month. We do your bookkeeping every single week. We give you a report by the 10th of every month. We have twice a month master classes and group calls asking them many questions. We tee everything up for your CPA to file your taxes. And so we're typically around the same cost people are already paying, to get value once a year. Maybe their book's updated every few months, but no tangible insights to actually grow their practice, just bean counting, as I like to call it. And so we actually give you insights, to grow, to scale, to get to the next level. And that's where the real value is, to have somebody on your team that's obviously built a clinic to a high level, as well as a CFO like Adam, who's helped consultants from, major organizations, and to have both of us, on your team to help you grow and scale to the next level. We've never had a single client that has said they haven't made, way, way more than we cost. And that's how we tried to price it as a no-brainer, for the chiropractic profession.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And that was one of the greatest things that attracted me to you guys as well, is the difference between my original bookkeeper and Lucro is my bookkeeper, that's all they do, right? That's their background, is business and accounting, whereas your background is the profession that I'm in. And that is a huge, huge asset for especially someone just starting off in practice. What I think about is, like, okay, your dollars matter now more than ever in your practice because you have to make it, right? So why not invest in someone who knows where you're headed, who knows what's around that corner and can help you avoid a lot of those pitfalls and maximize every dollar that you have. So, I think that's one of the greatest assets that you have with Lucro across the board for, again, those folks that are just coming out of school and wanting to get it optimized. Because at the end of the day, you're going to pay a bookkeeper one way or the other. You might as well leverage someone who knows our business frontwards and backwards and has had great success with it. So for me personally, it was a no-brainer. And I hope everyone listening can kind of see the value like that as well.
And I would even say, Dr. Kevin, if you're not paying a bookkeeper, that means you're doing it yourself, and that's even worse. Yeah, at the end of the day, you're a doctor, you're not an accountant, and neither is your spouse or your daughter or your niece, most likely that's doing your book. So that's a big thing that we talk about on a regular basis is having the right people on your team. To me, that's the biggest bottleneck in our profession is having the right people in your organization to help you grow and scale and get to the next level. And so, yeah, definitely if that's you and you're like, well, I'm doing it myself, I don't pay anything. Well, you're paying way, way more with your own time and the value that
Right.
you're missing out on of how much more successful you could be by the numbers and data and insights you don't know.
That's right. And I'm sure if we had more time, you could tell us some pretty amazing stories about those that were doing their bookkeeping by themselves and, probably how you save them not only time, but also a lot of money and potentially some other greater issues. All right. So here's another question for you. And I think this is a big one. The healthcare is ever changing and considering what's important next, like as you start to look ahead and assess the needs for our profession in the years ahead, how are you going to be able to help doctors be prepared to have the same success in the future as it continues to evolve?
Yeah, absolutely. I love this question because it's so paramount. What worked in the past, what's worked currently may not work in 2 years and 3 years and in 5 years. And so really understanding, as we grow as a profession, that's one of our key parts of our entire program that we're developing is what we're going to call the chiropractic industry insights. And so the more clinics that we have, the more and more data that we're going to have of what's working in the profession. Who are the top vendors to use? What is the top programs to use? Top EHRs, the top marketing companies, all the top organizations in the profession. We're going to have the data of the entire profession because we know the expenses of every single clinic that we work with. And so we got to know, people that utilize this company make 17% more profit. People that utilize this company, don't do as well. People that once they start utilizing this organization, their, clinic takes off. And so we're going to know overall, and that's something that we want to start delivering for the profession is what we call like a white paper report. What's working, what's not working? How do you run the most successful chiropractic business possible? And we can even tag those down based on style of practice or location of practice. Are you more pediatrics focused or family focused or personal injury? Are you in the Midwest or are you in a big city or a small town? And so we're going to be able to have all that data of how the best practices are being ran. What we call it in Lucro is the perfect P&L. What does the perfect P&L look like for every different size and style of practice? How do you optimize for total profitability of a clinic? Because at the end of the day, you'd much rather have 20% of a watermelon than 50% of a grape. A lot of clinics focus too much on profit margin when the goal of a clinic is total profitability. That's what a business is created to do, is to create enterprise value and total profitability. And so that's our entire goal, is to help provide those insights, not only for every individual client, but also for the profession as well. Because I always joke with people, it's Jesus and chiropractors. We're the top people that are called miracle workers in the history of the world, I truly believe. And why don't we have a bigger impact on the world? We know we have the greatest healthcare product in the world. Why are we reaching a greater percentage and having a bigger impact on the population? Fundamentally, we went to school to become doctors, not to become entrepreneurs and get our MBAs. And so how, as Lucro with the Remarkable Practice and other organizations in the profession, help uplift, the awareness of how to run a more successful business.
That is so true and well said on that, truthfully. I think, again, going back to the reality that, as we navigate the waters ahead, like who better to help you with your finances than a chiropractor, understanding and comprehending our profession. So fantastic. I really enjoyed that. And I know I've been a customer or client of your guys's now for, probably 8 months, and I learned something today. So thank you for that. My final question for you, Dr. Josiah, is what's the best way for our listeners to learn more and get in contact with you and take that next step for their business?
Absolutely. I would say go to our website, morelucro.com. We have tons of amazing resources. You mentioned the master classes. We call it the Lucro Vault. Right now we have an open source most of our content to anybody, and you can download handouts, you can download manuals, you can download calculators to calculate lifetime value, all different things that we have for free resources on our website that I utilize myself to grow my clinic to just under $7 million. So I would say first and foremost, take advantage of what we offer for free. If you want to engage and get to the next level, schedule a strategy call with us. We have a demo on our website of our software, how it works. And so I would say take the next step, schedule a call with us, see how we can help scale your clinic to the next level when you're ready. But at the end of the day, we're here to help doctors be more successful, have a greater impact, and we'd love to help do that for any of the listeners.
Fantastic. Highly recommend that, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Josiah, and have yourself a great rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you. You too.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Build Your Remarkable Practice podcast. Remember, what the world needs now is chiropractic, and what chiropractic needs now is more successful chiropractors. If you like the podcast, please subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a review. And if you'd like to connect with us personally, please click the links in the show notes to schedule a call.